All right, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Civicpolls Panel 2.0. This is the second edition of the Civicpolls Panel 2.0. My name is Peter Ishola, and I am the moderator for today's conversation. If you watched what we had in the last edition on the 1st of October, where we talked about the state of the nation, and we considered how the citizens will engage in the process of governance and politics. It was an amazing conversation. We had Dio Nigeria, who is a leadership expert and of course a social worker. He was here on the panel, and we had a very insightful and exciting conversation. Today, we are having another insightful and exciting conversation. Yes, another conversation that will also elicit a lot of emotion, considering what has been happening in the nation in the last few weeks. So, today we are looking at the NSAS protest. What are the lessons we have learned from the protest? What should be the way forward for Nigeria? And what are the other things that we can put into consideration as a nation in order to achieve the Nigeria of our dreams? Because everyone keeps saying that this is a movement which has started and will not come to an end. But then I have with me two very, very interesting and intelligent young men here on the panel. Of course, one of them was with us in the last edition, and is no other person but the human rights activist, Mr. Olusegun Ifade, a very good friend of mine too. And with me is also a barrister, a learned fellow, who is an astute litigator, a human rights lawyer, and he is no other person but Mr. Ifeoluwa Ojediran. So I will be bringing them on board on the platform. So I am not alone. Mr. Gbenga, welcome to Civicpolls 2.0. It's good to see you today again. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Peter, it's good to be here. It's good to be here once again. For me, it's always important to share ideas, to share knowledge, to look at things from all perspectives. Because at the end of it all, we are all working towards building a nation that we all can be proud of. So it's good to be here. Peter, it's good to be here in the house. So thank you very much for having me once again.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I have my barista. Barista, you're welcome to the Civicpolls Panels 2.0. How are you doing today?
I'm very fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. I know that the week has been a stressful one for you, for me also, and but nonetheless, we'll do what we have to do. So, now,
Definitely.
without much ado, yes, the NSAS protest. I will begin with my activist. What has been your take on the activities and the events so far that has happened in the nation in the last couple of weeks? What do you have to say about the NSAS protest and the government's response to it?
But before I proceed, let me just uh, my deepest sympathies goes to the victims of NSAS movement and their families, and those that are no more, and those that were injured during that noble movement. It is quite unfortunate that people have to go through that deeply injured because they want a right society where their rights can be respected, where they can work freely without any forms of harassment from any security operatives, and where the government can know that can listen to them in a way that can listen to them. But it's quite unfortunate that we have to lose one or two people, and also we have to have people in the hospitals going through that pain to achieve that. So having said that, the NSAS movement started well, and it is important for me to note this emphatically here, that the NSAS movement did not result or resulted into any forms of violence, any forms of looting, any forms of vandalization. No. What resulted into violence is government action. The answer started almost 14 days, 12 to 13 days before the inglorious events on Tuesday evening. There was no forms of looting, there was no forms of vandalization, there was no forms of any forms of violence. In fact, on Friday, when thugs attacked us at Alausa, we run a little bit, then we mobilized back and we pushed them away. We pursued them, the thugs. And one of them, that's Ada Face, is on the social media since that time, and no forms of any forms of arrest or government interrogation or government inviting the police inviting him. And then, so till that time, till date, till that Tuesday afternoon, there have never been any kind of violence. In fact, Lekki protest ground was the most organized and the most peaceful one. And so please let us take note of that. So NSAS movement did not result into any forms of violence. It was when government moved in their soldiers and the same miscreants, the same thugs that government were using to harass people from Apple in Abuja till those in Lagos, that they exploited the opportunities, to do what they know how to do best, to loot, to destroy, and then to steal. And so that's exactly what happened. And so far, so good. There have never been any forms of any action, any formidable action from the government to restore sanity, to restore trust in the minds of the people in regards to how they have been handling the NSAS movement, specifically the Lekki Inglorious event on Tuesday. And so it tells more that the government have never been sincere, and I don't see them being sincere with the issues on ground and with the entire people as we move on in our society.
Right.
Because to the government is all about achieving their own aim, achieving their own interest, not really what the people are saying, not really the demands of the people. And so that's justice. So there have not been any sincerity from that incident of Tuesday till date. Neither has there been any sincerity even before Tuesday.
All right, thank you so much. Let's hear from a barista's point of view. So, barista, let's hear you. What do you have to say about what's your reaction about the NSAS protest so far?
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Peter. As I said it earlier on, I will try to. It's a privilege to be here, but I'll try as much as possible to make my comments but purely legal. I will try not to get emotional about it. I'm not. So I won't talk like the human rights activist. First of all, the origin of that NSAS protest was noble, and which was that it's because the government had failed in its duty to protect the rights of citizens. This is not the first time there has been a movement against the atrocities of this small group called Special Anti-Robbery Squad. For like 3 years ago, they've been having this recurrent move. They will disband it, they come back and make it again, they disband it. So it's because of the failure of government that precipitated and culminated into this action that we citizens, we got fed up. And we felt that the only means we have is to protest. In a well-civilized society, it should not get to this point. By mere clamoring for it, the government will do the needful by coming out and say, well, these SARS people, we need to disband them. We need to do what they will go into them, and then they look at the agitations of the citizens. Because without the citizens, there's no government. So that's the first failure. So because of this this failure of government, everybody took it upon themselves. They came out to clamor for the disbandment of this SARS. And the law we stopped the special anti-robbery squad. But because of the insincerity of government over, I say that the beginning of the SARS movement was good. But the challenge I'm having is the legal issues therein. As much as we have the rights, we have freedom to protest. It's called right to freedom of association and right to peaceful assembly in the Constitution. And that right gives us the right, gives every citizen the ability to go about and then clamor for what they are, what's wrong. So the NSAS movement was exercising this right to peaceful assembly, section 40 of the Constitution. So they were exercising this right to peaceful assembly, which is good. Without peaceful assembly, without protests, government democracies do not increase. But as much as we have the right to peaceful assembly, our right to peaceful assembly also should not impede or inhibit the right of another citizen, which is where some people, some scholars, as I said earlier on, there are several schools of thought on this, so I will not get emotional. I will speak for both the for and the against. The first school of thought says that, as much as we have the right to peaceful assembly, you can do everything, you can close down the highway, you can push everybody back until the government does what it needs to do. Yes, to an extent, they may be right, but they are not entirely right. Because as much as I have my own right to peaceful assembly and association, my right to peaceful assembly and association should not inhibit or prevent another person from his own rights. I'll give a good example. I have a right to life. I will not say because I have a right to life, I carry a gun around, and once I see somebody trying to take my life, I shoot the person without any point. Or because I have a right to own property, I'll say, I just look at your property and I enter your property. Because if everybody tries to exercise his right without taking advantage of the right of the other person, it creates anarchy in government. So what the Constitution provides is that as you are exercising your rights, you also need to be careful that your exercise of your right is not preventing the other person from exercising his own right. The right to peaceful assembly, yes, I can exercise my right, but does it stop the people, other road users, from using the highway? That's the fundamental question. And that's what people raised with the NSAS movement, especially the ones in Lekki. The ones in Alausa, the cars were moving, everybody was moving, was good. But the ones in Lekki, in the beginning, they were fine. But later on, they started blocking the highway. And there's an highway law in Nigeria that says that you cannot block the highway. This constitution we have and these laws we have in Nigeria, they did not start from Nigeria. Most of them came from England. There's an English case called DPP and Jones. And in DPP and Jones, what the House of Lords in England said was that as much as you are exercising your right to peaceful assembly and protest, you must be careful so that you will not block the highway. Because the other person also has a right to movement. So as much as you're exercising your own rights, you don't stop the person from having his own right to movement. You don't create a system of chaos and anarchy that everybody. So at that point, the police started coming out. And the problem about Nigeria is the good people have the good intentions. There's always a bad person, whether from the government or from the populace or whichever. I don't want to get into because there's a school of thought that says, these people were sponsored by the government, which is what the human rights activist said. I don't have any fact about that, so I cannot say. Some other people are saying that, is this protesters? Well, I still don't think it's protesters, honestly. But it can also be some hoodlums that took over the opportunity. When the police went out, and there are situations where police stations were burnt, where people were massacred. So this anarchy created firstly by the inability of government to do what is right, and secondly, by the inability of government to also coming out at the early stage. Well, this still lasted for close to 14 days, right? And if they had come in earlier, if the government had come in earlier to say, youths, we've had you loud and clear, quote unquote. If they had said loud and clear from the beginning and said, well, let me call you together. What do we want? I will make an executive order. All it needs to do is just an executive order, or put out the law. This is what you want. We put into a law for you. We'll have finished this thing. But it was until the chaos had cost, at the cost, people's life had, people have lost their life, people have lost their livelihood. I know people on the Bode Thomas Ule that lost their livelihood. People on the Admiralty Road that lost their livelihood. People lost their lives. The human rights activist talked about the people who were injured and lost their lives on the Lekki toll gate. People lost their life severally, and then there's also people who lost their life not directly involved in the protest, but maybe an accident that was caused by around that protest. So most of us are looking at this protest from just the Lekki massacre or people that were directly involved. Some people may not be necessarily directly involved, but there are situations, circumstances that caused their death that can be traced also to this several protests. So my point of view is, it is the government's failure that caused all this.
Wow.
But notwithstanding that, we as citizens also must be ready to exercise our rights in accordance with the Constitution, not exercising our right to the detriment of other citizens.
All right, so thank you very much. It's amazing that I have a barrister in the house, and you have been able to point out something very, very salient, which is a take home for everyone. So based on what you have said, I'm safe to say that even though the protest was for a just cause, however, the process in which the protest was conducted had some flaws, and also the violence which we saw that happened and took place in the country was aggravated because the government was slow in responding, and they did not respond effectively. Am I right to say that?
Definitely.
All right, thank you very much. So I know something that my activists in the house will have one or two reactions to some of the things that you have said. Am I right, Mr. Benga?
So you are very right.
Let me hear you. Let me hear you talk.
You are very right. Yes. You see, one of the reasons I love this 2.0 civic panel discussion is because we have a lawyer in the house, and so we can be able to have a balance of discussions, conversations
Very
from
true.
the point of law. Okay,
Very
but for me, I just want to respond to just 2 points there, all right? In respect to how the process started. You see, the truth of the matter is this: we have the same conclusion, submission in terms of the fact that government failed to do what they need to do, and that's what caused this noble movement in the first place. But we should also know at the back of our mind that it is important that when you see there are theories of social movements, and one of the theories is deprivation theory, and which basically says that people start and people join social movement groups when they feel deprived. All right. When somebody is deprived, when somebody for long, and he said that the SARS issue didn't start yesterday. In fact, issues about SARS, potential of SARS, and advocacy to reform and to end that SARS started almost 3 to 4 years. And within that 3 to 4 years, people never stepped outside their house. Okay, people were using pen and paper, consultation, meeting police, meeting the police commissions, meeting DPOs, meeting the commissioners of police. So, but when it goes to that stage, there's nothing like blocking or not blocking the road any longer. Legitimacy lies in the people. when the government wants to tie the Third Mainland Bridge, they could have started it during the COVID period, but they were sleeping. So they started it after the COVID period. That says a lot of things. So when people want a deprived people whose right has been infringed upon for years, people who have lost their loved ones, and you are telling me about rule of law in blocking roads, where does the legitimacy lies? The legitimacy does not lies in a government. The legitimacy lies in the people. And at any point of time when they decide to act, as long as their action does not, and I quote it, does not result into taking of lives, I believe they are justified. And the truth is, for me, without being sentimental or putting emotions into it, one would have expected that probably fine, they could have arranged somewhere without blocking the road. But between you and now, we also understand the fact that the government that we have, as repressive as it is, it doesn't listen to subtle or a peaceful means somehow. It's quite unfortunate. You see, every changes in every society that has happened has always been at the two platforms. At the court of law, people who took it upon themselves to be going to court, to be filing, to be asking for redress, to be asking for judgment on this, on that, and also people who walk on the road, who protest. And so at the Lekki issue, it is clearly obvious that if they continue with doing it the way they were doing it, that the government will not listen to them. And I think that informed the decision to stage it at that Lekki. And I can also tell you that also informed the decision why soldiers were also deployed, because it was affecting the economic interest of the 0.5 power sites that govern the states. And that's why, despite the fact that the issue is still ongoing, at the judicial city, the management of SCCI, a company that is owned by Lagos State government, was asking that can they continue their economic activity. It's because that's the major importance to them as far as they are concerned. And so for me, I have a reservation on that in terms of whether they should have blocked the road. Okay. Another thing again is this: when I said government knew about in terms of thugs, you see, how do you identify when thugs or hoodlums are sent by people in government? It's just two ways. The first thing is this: no hoodlum. There is something we call economic interest. No hoodlums or thugs comes to protest ground without his economic interest. Now, when a hoodlum that is not sent by anybody comes to a protest ground, they come to steal. They are not coming to come and destroy that protest ground. No, they are coming to steal, to hijack, and to obtain, because that is their economic interest. But when you see a thug or hoodlums that comes to a protest ground to destroy that protest ground, to cause fights, now his economic interest has been met by who sent him there or who sent them there, because everybody acts based on economic interest, including the hoodlums. So a hoodlum that comes to protest ground not to steal, not to obtain funds, but come to destroy, to cause anarchy at that protest ground, his interest has been met by somebody that sent them. That is one. Two, if you look at some of the videos that we have at Apple, when you see Prado Jeep, leading those thugs, even a former senator was even saying that those Prado Jeeps belongs to the office of the presidency. You see Prado Jeep leading them. You see them taking off in front of just a 1 minute walk from Edet House. You see the one in Lagos. They've arrested, about almost 200 people for the past 1 week. But the one that came to attack peaceful protesters at Alausa on that Friday, whose face is everywhere, is yet to be arrested. Okay, and so those are the things that give us evidences that government knows about these things, you know, and some of us to also have our own intelligence too. But fine, like the lawyer says, you know, at the end of the day, fine. By the time you may not, you may table it at the court of law, they may ask you that these evidences are not that strong enough, you know, this and that. But we know that this thing exists, and that's why somebody says that that if everything that you see is all what you see, if everything that you hear is not what you hear, that means you are blind, you know.
All
Because
right.
if you don't see Holy Spirit, but you can't say that Holy Spirit does not exist. Okay, you don't see Prophet Muhammad, you that you are now currently, but Prophet Muhammad existed. Okay, so if you say they are not existing because you are not seeing them, then that means you are blind. Okay, so that's just my
All
point
right.
of view with respect to that.
Okay.
Now,
All right. So thank you very much, the barrister and the activists in the house, for your very insightful submissions on this issue. All right. So I'll be going into certain things that ensued in the process of the protest, especially from the perspective of the protesters. Now, I was in a conversation with someone, and the person told me, he said, this protest must be sponsored because it's so organized. And you could see that when there was rain, people were able to organize raincoats for the protesters. They were able to organize food. They were able to organize medicals and a lot of things. From the activists, what do you think about the organization of, well, largely the Nigerian youths in the course of the protests? Do you think that it was sponsored? And if you think it was sponsored from the initial, why do you say so? Or do you think that this is just the Nigerian youths being who they really are, showing what they really have as being leaders, indeed, being organizers, being able to take on the aim of affairs? Because a lot of people, one of the rhetorics that we found or we saw on social media, on Twitter, is that the Nigerian youths are ready to take up the aim of affairs of the government, of leadership in Nigeria. Let me hear your thoughts on that.
thank you, Peter. See, yes, the protest was sponsored because every protest needs economy to run. However,
Okay.
this
Okay.
protest was sponsored by youth, by people like you and people like me. Some of us departed with our money on this protest, you know, whether it's 5K, whether it is 2K, whether it is 3K, as the process was going on. So it was sponsored by Nigerian youth by themselves. Now, sorry that I'm going a line of theory. There is another theory of school of thought on social movement, and that is mass society theory. And it clearly says that people join movements when they are being isolated from a society. And so social media comes as a way of them expressing their voice because they have been isolated. And so when somebody that see a platform in which his voice can be heard, in which his voice is human dignity, you know, can be shown forth, you will not, you cannot undermine the length that such person will go to ensure that that platform achieve his aim, because he can see his resemblance in such platform, and so they can depart with their money. Now, the truth of the matter is this, very simple. Now, the protest was sponsored by people. The protest was a movement that was predicated on what we call be water strategy. Be water strategy is always a leaderless forms of protest. And you use the water strategy
Okay.
more when you realize that you are in a system where the government is repressive. And the water strategy
Okay.
was used effectively well in Hong Kong protest, because the youth in Hong Kong realized the fact that their government is a zombie that is obeying the China government. And so they were repressive. And so that is why NSC could not fly. Because all what government needs to do is either to use the DSS, to use the state apparatus to silence them, or to use economic interest in terms of bribing for them to keep quiet. And while some of us were on the street of Lagos trying to compel Nigeria Labour Congress to declare strike action in respect to the increments, the fuel increments and other increments like NEPA, on the street, the LNC went in a meeting in the night and came out with all sort of blabbing. And at the end, we couldn't hear anything any longer. And that's why the water strategy as a form of protest will continue to be gaining ground because you are in a repressive government. So people were the ones contributing money. People were the ones sending money. In fact, in a week, we raised 65 million. And another thing to note is that it shows that there is no difficulty in governance. Within 10 minutes, you can get ambulance when there is issue. Within 6 days, we were able to put together call center, whereby people, you don't need to call whether we know, you don't need to call more, you don't need to call this person because when they're busy, all you need to call is the dedicated line of the call center. And this was done within 6 days, with about 20 to 30 people that volunteer. Okay, and there is nothing like any rope cutting, any funfair that you want to open this and that, like we see that government does. And the truth is, these were put together by young minds, legal minds, techie guys, IT guys, professionals. And some of us in HR, we understand the importance of collaboration in brainstorming from different people in different departments. Okay, when you bring a physicist, a chemist, a lawyer, a sociologist, a technology, an IT person, when you bring them together to solve a particular issue, it takes them lesser time to solve it because all knowledge are integrated together. And that's what you see that happen, that makes everything so smooth, so smart, and so efficient in the program. These are guys that run industries, that run corporations. These are techie guys, okay? And so it tells us that governance is easier when there is passion to make things work. Okay?
Thank you.
So, whoever is saying anything, nobody, in fact, sorry to say this, you see that Showore too was at a particular protest ground and he was asked to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
even though some of us were not really happy in the way and manner it went, but in all sincerity, it was also what I did when I was the SOG president of OOU then. When I had the protest at Okemoso, and there was this particular person that came around, I understand that they can easily manipulate and says that he is part of the sponsor. I asked him in a polite manner to leave, and this man, a gentleman, left. Okay, so I was able to understand why they asked Showore to leave, even though it was not a polite one, which was unfortunate, So it shows that the youth by themselves understand the issue and understand the nitty-gritty, understand the concepts, understand the manipulation that government medias, government immoral armies, on social media can twist the narrative that they are being sponsored. And that's why, imagine even when Oluomo came with food materials, it was rejected. Okay, you can also see that when a politician too went to Abule Egba, to ask them that he wants to speak, he wasn't given the platform. Okay, and this resulted into him shooting guns, and now that and I don't know if you're aware of a young journalist that we've been asking how come he was arrested alive and is no more.
He was found dead. Yes.
Found dead at mortuary at the morgue. Okay, because this was the journalist that videoed the shooting of that politician. Okay, so the youth sponsor this protest by themselves because they've been deprived for long. So anybody that is saying anything is only undermining the efficacies and the brilliance of the youth when they really want a change to happen.
All right, thank you so much, the activists. Let's hear the barrister. So, barrister, what do you think about the protest? Was it sponsored? The organization and everything, were you impressed? And do you think it was sponsored? If you think it was sponsored, do you think it was politically motivated? Was the sponsorship a political sponsorship or what? Let's hear your thoughts on it, barrister.
Oh, thank you very much. Let me start from what the human rights activist said. I believe it was sponsored, but definitely not by a political party, because you will see throughout they kept out politicians. They kept out the let me call them career politicians. Those are some people that I call them career politicians. All they have is just career. Their politics, from councillor to chairman to special assistant to this one. For the past since 1999, some people have never left politics. From one association to this one. So, but what the good thing about this protest is that it took out these career politicians, whether they are youths or not. It took them out, which is good. So the sponsorship was not by, he said something about some theory, which I totally agree. When you push me to the back and I'm faced by the wall, I cannot go inside the wall, I'll fight back. And that's what caused this protest. The youths were fighting back. And, when you are fighting back, you don't care how much you will lose. Because, see, the truth about this SARS issue is that a lot of people have died through the hand of this SARS. A lot of people have lost monies. People's account has been, they've done so many havoc. So people were ready to, I don't care how much it will cost. Drop this money. Let this money continue. Let it things call. And a lot of companies were buying into it. I know even some banks bought into it. They were even sponsoring, giving drinks. I'm sure in Lekki, yes, giving drinks, giving money. And he said something about the youth. Recently, Paystack got bought by, Paystack is a Nigerian company that got it by Stripe. Close to 200 million, by Stripe. A huge money. Funny thing about Nigerian youth is that when we are in Nigeria, the government, they don't see us as being good. But once we go outside, and then recently, I think there was one person that one 32-year-old Nigerian, American Nigerian, I put American in front, so that people don't say it's Nigerian. The American Nigerian. They started celebrating him. Oh, our Ekiti born person, our Kwara born in our daughter. The person that if he was in Nigeria, if he or she was in Nigeria, exactly Ekiti and Kwara. If they were in Nigeria, they would never get close to this politics. But suddenly they are born in America.
Down by NSAS bullets.
Exactly. Suddenly they are now in America that they are celebrating them as if they've done. So a lot of these same geniuses that are there, we have geniuses in Nigeria. I know people who are very good in tech. But once you carry laptop around now, that time the SARS will just arrest you that, oh, you are Yahoo boy. It's SARS. Because once you have a laptop, the only thing they can think of, once you can decode, once you can code and decode, the only thing in their brain is, oh, this person must be. Yes, they are Yahoo people, agreed. But you cannot generalize. There's this philosophy called it is a fallacy of hasty generalization. So people just see them and just say, oh, they just generalize them, which is not correct. So yes, it was sponsored, but it was sponsored by youths who were fed up by the inactivity and ineptitude of government. The organization, as the human rights activist said, organization was correct, was well organized. But on the long run, an issue came up, which is what I want to raise before I cut off.
Yes.
I think the feminist coalition started bringing up this issue of LGBT, blah, blah, blah. And people, some of us were feeling that, is it that these people were being sponsored by this LGBT?
This LGBT group.
Exactly, LGBT group. But we didn't understand how suddenly just I say LGBT. We never, this thing was never part of the plan. It was never part of the plan. Where did they come from? So there's another school of thought that is saying that, oh, they are sponsored by this LGBT. As I said, and I will still say, I don't have any evidence. But I'm just saying different schools of thought.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Now that brings me to a thought on this protest. Now, because there are a lot of other things that I will be pointing out. Now, it looked as if the structure of and the organization of the protest was very fluid, and it gave room to penetration. For example, you talked about the LGBT group, which was a loophole. I would like to call it a loophole on one hand, and then on another hand, Benga said that the politicians tried to come in to express interest, but they were kicked off. Now, what were the loopholes, or what were the things that the Nigerian youths did not do too well, which is something that we can correct or work on in subsequent protests? Because for me, I believe that this is not the end of it. And even though I understand that a lot of Nigerian youths have been disillusioned, some of them are at the point of giving up, but I think that it's not over yet. So what do you think? Now, this question, I will start with the barrister. What's your thoughts? Well, do you think that we got it all right? What were the loopholes? What didn't the Nigerian youths do very well? Let me hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much once again. I've had several discussions with people on this issue, and I felt that we started well. I always say that, but the loopholes, as you said, gave rise to the government infiltration. As much as it's good for us not to have a leader, so to speak, but it's always good to have, let me use the word, a committee of leaders. Because if there is a committee of leaders that can sit down with the government and say, okay, they can force the government to enter into an executive order or go through the house of the lawmakers and make them make a law and put all our demands into laws that will be binding on the government and every subsequent government. I think that would be fantastic. But because there was no leader, I understand that the reason why we didn't want to have a leader was because they felt that leaders, as human rights activists, as I said earlier on too, leaders can easily be bought, which I totally agree with that. But if there are there's a committee of trusted persons that you know that these persons are tested and trusted, they cannot be bought, they will be the ones to channel our grievances directly and then sit down with the government and say, well, government, we are giving you 3 days ultimatum. Put this thing into writing. This is what we want. This is how we want it. And then they will meet, collaborate with the lawmakers, collaborate with the pressure groups, and then put these things into writing. Because several people had several interests that was coming in, several interest groups, several base people. It became so jam-packed and so rowdy. So I feel that the issue of leadership may be a loophole, and I feel that if we are taking advantage, but in the beginning we had very strong points. We still have very strong points. But suddenly with this end, with the way they said they've had us loud and clear, and now they are saying, oh, we cannot protest. It's as if we don't really gain anything. Which is what I was discussing with somebody that, well, I'm feeling very disillusioned, as you said, because with all these protests, with all the lives that are lost, property that were lost, what did we really gain? Have we really gained anything? Can't this government come back tomorrow and say, oh, this is what they are doing? Can't they become like SARS again? Is there any law that is stopping? Because, you know, if they come back again, can I go to court and challenge their action and say, oh, because of it, brother, you know what I want to is one statement from one government officer, which I don't trust them. Most people don't trust them. Most human rights activists don't trust them. So I feel that we should have pushed the government to give us a law. And the way you do that is, okay, we'll give you 3 days, we'll stop. The human rights activists talked about the economic interest of the Lekki toll gate. Okay, within 3 days, do this thing. We'll leave you 3 days. We come back again. Within 2 days, do this. So that can push. I understand the fear of most of us that, oh, will the government do it? But I feel that it can push the government to get into a point of entering this legal framework. All I'm saying that there must be a legal framework that can prevent the reoccurrence of this thing. On the second point of, okay, what else can we do to. I feel that on the other things that we can do, we use the social media fantastically. That was very good. We had people all around the world coming in and getting things done. But I also feel that some youths were in a bid to get clout on social media. They were coming out with very false information. If you wear the flag of Nigeria, they will not shoot you. I mean, I saw that thing. I said, man, soldiers should not even shoot a civilian. So why do you need to say that you must wear a national flag before you wear your carry flag before they shoot you? That is wrong. So don't even give soldiers the inkling that they have the right to shoot. They cannot shoot civilians. So people started wearing flags. People started selling flags. Then somebody said, oh, the UN Constitution says that 30 days. There's nothing like the UN Constitution that says 30 days. So this small false news were giving people wrong information, and some from the youth, people said, I mean, this thing is wrong, but you know, the way life flies more. So it created a lot of loopholes. Some people were doing it for benefit. Some people were doing it for some of these celebrities. If you agree with me, human rights activists, that some of these celebrities, they were doing it for, I want clout. They will come out one day, they'll say that, yes, I'm a celebrity. I think Naramali came out in the beginning, then Davido, all these celebrities, some of them are just doing it for clout. Very few of them, we are really informed, we are really passionate about this protest. So as much as we are removing the career politicians, I also feel that we also need to remove some of these career celebrities. Let us go to people who can deal with these things themselves. People who know who can push the government to do what is right. So that's my own view. And then the third point is we should also not. I still go back to my law that we should be careful not to infringe on the rights of some other people, because the more the protest was going, the more it was creating a state of in law they call it state of anomy, state of lawlessness. That's what resulted in the burning of the courts. You know, as speaking as a lawyer, the burning of the court is a desecration of the temple of justice. I mean, how can you enter the courtroom and burn the courtroom? It's wrong. It's totally uncalled for. So these are the things that it's because of the state of lawlessness that this thing has culminated into. And a lot of things, I will not blame the protesters, definitely. As I said, I'll blame the government, and I'll blame also some of us that we felt that this thing was getting too long. Let's push these people to the negotiation table. You know, there is in law, in human resources, there's always a room for negotiation. HR will tell us that there was always a room for negotiation, but it depends on how you bring out. And the best time for you to negotiate is at the time of your strength, not at the time of your weakness. At the time of our strength, we do not negotiate. But now we are at the point of our weakness. We cannot negotiate again because it seems as if the government is saying, come out. If they let me use the word, if they burn you well, come out. That's what they were telling us. If they burn you well, come out. And everybody is scared to come out. Even some of the leaders that were outside, most passports were seized. Recently, yesterday I heard that some accounts were frozen by the government. These are all things that the government is doing to try to forestall this thing from happening again. And it's because they are doing it against us at the point of our weakness, at the point of our strength. When everybody, at the point the whole world was on standstill, NSAS was trending worldwide. At that point, the government was even afraid of us. At that point, I think that's the point of our strength. We should have forced them to negotiate, make out a law, give us an executive order, force them to do these things. But now we are at the point of our weakness, which I feel that these are the things that the loopholes I feel occurred in the protest.
All right, thank you so much. Now, I know that definitely my activist in the house has something to say to that. So, Mr. Olusegun Ifade, let me hear you.
Thank you very much.
What did we do wrong, and what were the loopholes?
Thank you very much, Barrister. What did we do wrong? I think the government did not give us ample time, to do anything wrong. Yes, the government did not give us time to do anything wrong. Because probably if the protest has lingered beyond that inglorious Tuesday, probably we would have done something wrong, all right? But the government helped us by doing what he did, you know, and so I can't say we did anything wrong. Now the thing is this, you know, so some of us we speak from ideological point of view, okay, and it's because of our years with relating with this bourgeoisie, with this elite political class. Now let me give you an instance. You remember when the protest was on, when they realized that there is no leader to call to bribe, or there is no leader to use the state apparatus to intimidate. So they discovered that, okay, maybe part of this protest, or maybe the population of the protest are those that are supposed to be in school due to ASU strike. So they quickly initiated a negotiation again with ASU. In fact, they agreed to release 50 billion, 30 billion to meet ASU demands, and 20 billion for funding of education, of our tertiary education. All right. Then they were having meeting constantly, because at that time their interest was to weaken or to vitiate the numbers of people at the protest ground, having realized that most of them are people that they sent home through that strike. Now, after they did what they did, they are no more listening to ASU any longer. When it's come, there's some struggle that you don't need negotiation about. I don't need to negotiate about you not killing me. I don't need to negotiate about you arresting me indiscriminately, because the laws are there. The laws are fine. Let's even forget the fact that Nigeria 1999 Constitution was put in place by those in khaki forms. If Nigeria even implement that law as it is, we will not be where we are. It is an issue of lack of indiscipline. So the truth is, what are we negotiating on the negotiation table with government? What? The demands were so clear. The demands was scrap SARS. Scrap SARS. We do not need to negotiate that. After a lot of days, they realized that they can't do anything than to scrap it. Even despite the scrapping, we are still seeing some of them on the streets, on the roads. Okay? Even as we are scrapping it, you are still intimidating us in an unlawful manner. And the protest moved from scrapping of SARS to major issues that borders on the lives of Nigerians. And that's when the issue of, you know, coming in and doing what they need to do, what they did, which was wrong. Let me give you an instance. Let me just say this. I was telling somebody that on ideological basis, it's easier for you to understand the next line of actions of governments. When we first started the protest, you see some governors joining the NSAS, raising placard. You see some of their media heads too supporting. You see some of their workers too supporting. You see some of their appointed officers supporting. It was because the protest has not emphatically moved into what interests the government. The political class will never in any way support anything that will affect their interests. When the demand was solely on police brutality, you see some of them supporting. It is a noble demand. It is this, it is that. Because police brutality has nothing to do with the interest of a government, a governor, a deputy governor, a commissioner. No, it has nothing. It has nothing to do with its economic and political interest. By the time the demands moved from police brutality to reforms, to salaries paid to the state, to assemblies, to issues that have to do with governance. Then the pressure started piling up on some states that the federal government seems that they're allowing them to do what they are doing. And that's when they have to turn up the heat, whether through cooks or through means that they found as the way out. Because they will never allow you to have a demand that will affect their interests. And so, to us, the be water strategy was all right because there is nothing for us to negotiate. Maybe after that Tuesday, we will now start having, since SARS has been scrapped, can we now have leadership team that will meet on some certain laws that the house should put in order? But the truth is, if you negotiate at the beginning with a leader, all what the government will just do is to arrest. If not arrest, there's some money. See, there's some money that when you see your account, you start thinking if you are acting right. And that is exactly what happens to NSC. So by the time you use divide and rule, if you have like 5 leaders, 3 use money, 2 that is proving stubborn, just use something, and put him in jail. The truth of the matter is that Nigerian government will do something unlawful. They will stand on it. When that thing weakens you, they will not find one law to guide it. And that's, imagine when you seize somebody's passport without any legal ground, without any court order. Didn't they seize the passport? Yes. Did they make her to travel? No. But they achieved their aim. What has happened from that time to now? We are just shouting. So if we go and have leader within 2 days or 3 days of starting the protest, the same thing will happen, and they will tie down the struggle. But when they end that protest, that SARS, by the time we now move to some certain demand that has to do with law, that has to do with having framework, assuming the government did not do what it did on that Tuesday, probably it would have been justified to say we were wrong by not raising a team, especially a team of legal experts, to put together some demand and some frameworks to push into the house. But they couldn't allow us to achieve that, because the first demand has to do with negotiation, but the second demand, which metamorphosed into governance, into some certain things, needs some certain document that can be pushed. But they couldn't allow us to get to that point in time, and that's justice. And so I can't say that there were some gaps. I can't say authoritatively that there were some gaps. Because I understand the reason why the leaderless strategy was used. All right, I understand the political terrain and the government that we have. Okay, but I also understand that even if they allow us and we start pushing forms, see, there is nothing that we can achieve as far as Nigerians today is with this particular leadership without actions, without protest, without moving to the roads of Nigeria, because they are repressive. Okay, and that's just that for me.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Now, moving very fast so that we don't spend so much time. Now, there was a curfew, and some protesters said whether there is a curfew or not, we will remain where we are. And then we all know the story. Black Tuesday, 20th of October 2020, a day the Nigerian youth will always remember. Now, I would go to you, Barrister Ifeoluwa. What do you think happened? Where did the government get it right? Where did the government get it wrong? Where did the protesters get it right? Where did the protesters get it wrong? Let's have your thoughts on it. I know that it's very likely that the discussion on the Lekki toll gate massacre will elicit emotions, but please let's manage how we talk about it. And then I was in a conversation with somebody, and the person said, "Was it a massacre? How many people died?" Let's know what you think about that, Barrister. And then the activist in the house will also say his own part of that. Let's listen to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Loud and clear.
yes. Loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you, Barrister.
We can hear you. We
Right?
can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. 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 Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes. Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Continue.
Okay, I should continue. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. You were asking about the curfew.
Yes. What are your thoughts
First
on
of
the
all, on
curfew?
that
What
issue of the
happened?
curfew, I feel that once the curfew was ordered, the people we all need to obey the law.
Mm.
So we all need to obey the law. Once the curfew was ordered, everyone should go back and just obey the law. But the issue of that Lekki was not just about the curfew, because after the curfew was ordered, the Lagos State governor, in his wisdom, extended it to 9 o'clock.
To 9 o'clock, exactly.
The inglorious and what happened around 7:30, 8 o'clock, thereabout, before the beginning of the curfew, which is what most of us were clamoring for. That this thing did not happen due to the curfew. It happened before the curfew.
Before the curfew.
So that is the main thing. So I don't think the curfew is connected remotely or directly with the Lekki incident. But I don't want to speak so much on it. One, because there's a commission on inquiry on it, and I'll be wrong to be speaking about it when there's a commission of inquiry still looking at what happened at the Lekki incident. But the summary of what I would say is, I don't think the curfew caused the incident. I don't think the curfew caused the incident, because the curfew was extended to 9 o'clock. The incident happened between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. That was not the curfew. That's the first thing. But whatever happened after that time, let the commission of inquiry. I think we still go back to the issue of the commission of inquiry, but let the commission of inquiry deal with that.
I know that as a barrister, you are trying not to say it, but let me just ask you, what do you think went wrong? Because I think that, yes, I know that there's a commission of inquiry who would actually let out the truth to Nigerians. But what do you think went wrong? There was a curfew, and then now, particularly, let's talk about the military bringing out arms and firing live shots at Nigerians. It seems as if you're having a hard time hearing me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, but let's hear you, Mr. Benga. What's your thoughts about the Lekki massacre?
Yeah, I understand where my barrister is coming from. He's a barrister of is a barrister of the law, so he needs to be careful. But some of us, we are not a barrister of the law. We are so it's very clear, very simple. Okay. You see, there are some things and that's why some of us do believe that if you are in Nigeria, okay, and you're giving birth in Nigeria and you are still living in Nigeria, the truth of the matter is that you are not sane. No persons in Nigeria that lives in this country. Hello?
Yeah, I'm with you. You can continue. Hello?
Nobody in Nigeria that lives in Nigeria that has even 90% sanity. And from our choice of words, some of our actions and inactions, it can show how the level of insanity has crept into our lives. Now, there is no justification in whatsoever that the military, there is no justification for the presence of the military at Lekki toll gate. There is no justification, because the issue at Lekki at the toll gate is a civil issue. It's a civil issue of unarmed citizens protesting, expressing what the Constitution guarantees them to do. So there is no justification for the presence of the military at the Lekki toll gate. Whether Shooting is another thing, another scope, another discussion. But I've never started my own school of thought on shooting, even though shooting is wrong. Mine starts from their presence, because the military has nothing to do with their presence at the Lekki toll gate. That is one. Two is this: the governor of Lagos State, in a leaked audio interview with the envoys in Lagos, says that they were not expecting the military to be at the ground around that time, around 7 o'clock. That they were expecting them to be around 10 or 11 after the extension of the curfew. So it means that the governor of Lagos State is aware that the military are going to Lekki toll gate. That is one. Till date, despite the governor saying that fine, in another interview on Arise, that there were footages that show that the military were there. Okay, which tells us that he also aware that the military were going there. It's just that he was not expecting them to be there around the time that they went. The military came out to say that the government of Lagos State invited them to enforce the curfew. Since that time, the Lagos State government, the governor, in particular Governor Sanwo-Olu, has not till date grant any press briefing or talk on that EndSARS issues any longer, particularly to deny that allegation from the military that they were invited by the state government. When you put all this together, including the fact that the billboard that normally light up that environment was switched off before that time, and also the public light, because apart from the billboard, there were public lights in that arena, it was also switched off. All right. So when you put all this together, then you can understand what clearly happened on that inglorious Tuesday night. By the time you now understand that, have that knowledge, then there is no how you will not raise a red flag on the moral and ethical ground of the judicial panel to look into the Lekki massacre. What does that mean? It means that the judicial panel have the moral and ethical ground to investigate, to look into their initial terms, the purposes of their constitution by the Lagos State government, as directed by the federal government, that they should look into the brutality of police. They should also look into compensation of victims of police, and they should also see that justice, is done on the issues of police that are found wanting to have brutalized Nigerians. The judicial panel has moral and ethical ground to do just that. However, when it has to do with the Lekki massacre, the judicial panel do not have the moral and ethical ground to look into that issue, because a major actor who participated in what happened at Lekki toll gate is the one that set up the panel. So the state government cannot be a judge in his own case. The state government cannot be a judge in his own case. And the most funny thing is, when the LCC went to the panel this week, went to the panel, they were even represented by the Lagos State government legal team. How will LCC be represented by the Lagos State civil team? Fine, maybe the justification is that the LCC belongs to Lagos State government, but it shouldn't have been. When I wrote a letter requesting for the freedom of using the Freedom of Information Act, requesting for the video, the CCTV record from 6:30 p.m. of Tuesday to 3:30 a.m. of Wednesday, that thing should be released to us and it should be made a public document. They wrote to us back, after 4 days when they went to the panel, that they handed over to the panel, judicial panel, that so they cannot release it. But even at the judicial panel, they only said that the recording, their CCTV stopped recording by 8 p.m. Okay, so the judicial panel on Lekki toll gate lacks every moral and ethical ground to do what they are doing now. But on their first initial terms, in terms of just looking at the police brutality, compensation of police victims, and ensuring that there is justice, and bringing to book those police that are found wanting. Yes, the Lagos State Judicial Panel have moral ground to do that. They should continue their work on that one. But on Lekki issue, the panel does not have the moral and the ethical ground to investigate on that issue, because the major perpetrator, the major actor of that Lekki incident is the one that set it up. And so I don't know the legal terms, but there is a Latin word used for that. But in normal English, the judge cannot be a judge. A person cannot be a judge on his own case. And I can tell you, my dear brother, you see, somebody was asking initially that what is the gain? Is there any gain? What's the gain of this NSAS? See, most gain in life start. The most important gain in life starts from abstracts. There are things that you cannot see, abstract. Okay? There are things you cannot see. Most gains in life start from abstract form. All right? Now, the first gain of NSAS is the reawakening of the social consciousness of the larger group of Nigerians, which is the youth. The Nigerian youth have now been reawakened consciously. That's the first gain of NSAS. Okay? Now, the second gain of NSAS, all right, is that the political class have now also realized that what they are doing is a matter of time. And so they need to sit tight in respect to governance and the lives of the people. That's the two. They cannot go into the scrapping of SARS himself, which are physical form. But the major change, the major gain is here. It's here. It is abstract. Abstract. You can never see knowledge.
Yes.
Okay? You can never see knowledge. You just only know that 1 + 1 is 2. And so the first gain of the answer is the reawakening of the social consciousness of the people. One. The second gain, the change in mindset about the perception of the Nigerian youth that they are not lazy. And so the government needs to work hard to reduce poverty, to reduce unemployment, to reduce all those things that give rises to people speaking up collectively in large numbers. Then the third gain,
thank you.
And other forms.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Barrister. I don't know. We lost you, but we are so happy that
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Okay, so back to you, Barrister. We've been talking about the Lekki massacre and every other thing that ensued after the Lekki massacre. So I know you were saying something before you went off. So let's just hear you. I know that you're trying to mince words, and which is okay because of the nature of your profession. Yes, but now looking at the Lekki massacre, what ensued after that, so what do you have to say about the judicial panel that has been set up by the state government to look into the issue of the protest and the Lekki massacre?
Okay, thank you very much. And once again, sorry for going offline at the point.
It's part of the Nigerian issue.
Okay, back to the Lekki incident. I'm being very careful about calling it a massacre or not, so I call it Lekki incident.
Okay.
Until the judicial panel tells us it's a massacre, they will say it's a massacre. before
Wow, all right.
who hold me to my word that, oh, I call it a massacre. What's the evidence of the massacre? I think the federal government was running away from its responsibility by saying that let all state governments start having the judicial panels. That's the first one. And the Lekki incident, the judicial panel, I was discussing with some people, and I told them that it is this same Lagos state government that is created the judicial panel that will look at the reports and recommendation of the judicial panel. And this same Lagos state government that is being indicted of having committed the atrocities of the Lekki incident. So it's creating a question of you will create something for you that it cannot be wrong. That's the point. You can't expect them to be wrong indirectly. I don't see them being wrong, even if they are wrong. You know, they said the person that pays the piper dictates the tune. The people heading them, of course, they're being paid. You know, there's always this so you can't expect them to now totally go against the person that is paying them. That's the point, first point. And I've been following the incident. Hardly will you see anybody really go into the meat and the integrity of the Lekki incident. The things they've been discussing more is on the issue of the police brutality. When they get to that meat of, was it just yesterday or 2 days ago that they had the LCC, 2 days ago, that the LCCMD came in and said, oh, well, we stopped recording. And you also agree with me that Agent Fash saw a camera. So what is in that camera that Agent Fash saw? We don't know. So, and the LCC told us that, oh, they have cameras that are working. After that time, we were clamoring. They said, oh, there's a camera that is working very well. Everything is there.
Thanks.
You know, I was telling somebody that if immediately that they tell us the camera was working, if they wanted to release it, nothing will stop them from releasing it immediately. But the length of time they took before they now came and said, oh, the camera stopped working. I mean, I just knew that the longer the time, the longer somebody's working on it to what you call it, to erase evidence.
Yeah.
So, but in that area, somebody was even discussing with me that in that area, most of these skyscrapers have CCTV cameras that is looking at that Lekki, that toll gate. Civic Center is there, most of them. So why don't you ask any of these people, these CCTV cameras, what is even there? Let us look at it.
True.
It's just because you are trying to cover
especially the hotel.
Most of these hotels have this. Yeah, exactly. Most of them have these CCTV cameras that are looking directly down at the Lekki toll gate. Why don't we get it from them? If let's assume that Lekki LCC is correct, which honestly I don't think they are, but assuming they are correct, what about the other cameras? So why are we just dealing with LCC alone? When we also know that several of these hotels, some of these big banks, there's a big bank around that area, Diamond Bank is around that area. These banks have CCTV cameras that are looking down into the Lekki toll gate. Why don't we get it from them? But it still goes back to my point that the person that pays the piper dictates the tune. When they went there, they saw, according to them, they saw bullet shells. I mean, the Loma has gone there, they've cleaned that place. Several people have gone there, then suddenly you're still seeing bullet shells. Is it that something is wrong somewhere, or they're trying to cover evidence? Because if they did not clean up that place, because the first point when they said they were cleaning up that area was, I just told them that if they are cleaning up a scene of a crime, that is, they are destroying evidence. In America, they don't clean it up.
It's totally unacceptable anywhere.
They cover it with a yellow tape, police, they just cover it up. Until they finish, they don't allow anybody, not the politician, not the minister, nobody goes there. It's the police that continues going there, checking evidence one by one. If it will take them 1 month, exactly, if it take them 1 month for them to get to the root, they will continue. But our own Loma has gone there, Agent Fash has gone there, the governors have gone there, several people have gone there. So, what do you expect to be there? So I just feel that we are covering the truth about this thing, and it is pathetic that I don't see anything. I'm not being pessimistic, but I don't see anything good coming out of it.
Okay, so all right, so that leaves me to say that on the part of the both of you, you don't think that the judicial panel is credible enough. I believe I'm safe to say that. based on your analysis of the situation?
I don't want to use the word credible enough because it's a judge that is the head. So before I say the judge is not credible, I don't want to use the word credible enough. But I don't feel I'm not seeing them as sincere. The person that created them, I'm challenging the creator now, not the past panel. I don't know the panel very well. I know the judge. The judge is a very upright woman. I know her, but I don't trust the person that created the panel. And if you look at the judge, she's always going back to the modus operandi, the mode of creation, saying that what created us is blah blah blah. I think there was an issue that came up, and she said, "Well, what's our terms of settlement, our terms of engagement?" She reads it out, so she's bound by that terms of engagement, and that terms of engagement has curtailed the powers of the panel.
That's an interesting thought. Wow. So what we should say now, based on the analysis of both of you, is that the Lagos State government should not be in the right position to set up the panel. The panel should be set up by another authority, preferably the federal government. Am I right?
Yes, the federal government. There is Amnesty International. Even if it's an NGO or UN, let somebody else. Let's somebody different from the government. The federal government can be a part of the committee, yes, but a neutral body. It should be done by a neutral body, not. The federal government is culpable in this thing. Because once you are involving the army, the federal government is also culpable. And I feel the federal government knows about. Was it recently that the senior special assistant to the president was talking on Arise or Channel, and he was saying that when the federal government, it was Channels, when they were asking him that was the federal government involved, the president was he aware? He was trying to beg the question, and if you notice, the police, everybody, the army, yes, Mr. Femi Additional, the army, the federal, all of them have been begging the question of what happened at this Lekki told everybody, federal government, the state governors. Before our executive governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Governor Sanwo-Olu, said that, I did not know anything about it. And he said, you invited us now. And I said, I only invited you. I mean, so there are several theories, several lies that is flying all around. And who do you want us to believe? To me, it just shows that there's lies. See, they know the truth. Federal government, the Lagos State government, they all know the truth. But in a system for you to buy the truth, they feel that, well, let's just keep on lying to them. After some time, they will forget about this incident, which is what they are trying to do. Remember the Oputa panel. Oputa panel came in, they spent hours, years, blah 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 blah. Everybody came, talk. It was just talk. After that, nobody.
I still watched some proceedings of Oputa panel this year on YouTube.
Can anybody remember what happened in the Oputa panel again?
Exactly.
Most of these millennials, I don't think any millennial will ever remember Oputa panel. Even those in the 1990s will never. So see, and then this the system. This according to my brother that talks about theories. This is the theory of government. Keep lying to them. After some time, they'll forget. Another generation will come, and everything will die down. Which is what they're playing. They are playing that script for us. That's why. See, the longer this commission is, the longer the commission of inquiry is taking, the more certain I am that nothing will come out. Because this thing is not long. There's no big deal about this thing. So I remember a computer guru was even saying that, give us that camera. I say it stopped working. We will see. You can still open it up. We will show you. You can think it has stopped working, but you can still open it up for you. But they will never bring it up for us now. We have youths that can still go back to that camera and then make it work. We'll say everything happen.
You make it work.
If you work on your phone, if you delete something on your phone, if you delete it,
they can still bring it out
and still find it out. But that's what they're trying to do. They cannot bring it out for us, so that we know that if they bring it out for us, we will find it out.
Yeah. So the question I want to ask you now, Barrister, is what is the role of the Nigerian Bar Association in this whole thing? Because I remember that the Nigerian Bar Association said that they were going to prosecute. And what role do you think they can play in this whole incident, in this whole situation that is currently taking place with the judicial panel?
Okay. The Nigerian Bar Association under the presidency of Mr. Olumide Apata has been very proactive, and I must commend him for that.
I agree with you.
He has been very proactive.
I can see the activist is shaking his head too. He also agrees.
No, I must commend him for that. He has been very proactive on this thing, and which is very good. You know, I just don't want us to see the NBA alone. Let several pressure groups come up. You know, the problem of NLC to do what is right. If we had trust in NLC, all these things, the force would have been very good if there was a total lockdown or strike. During that first subsidy in 2012 years, Ojota protest, there was a lockdown. Yes. Everybody, so the government was forced. But now, we don't NLC, even that time, NLC never came out to even say anything about it. Why? Because they have been infiltrated. So the NBA president is doing very right. And I think that, but you know, he has to also be careful in the sense that if they don't come out with evidence, there's nothing. See, a lawyer can only work with evidence. That's true. That's the problem about lawyers. If somebody does not come out and say that I was there and this is what came out, this is everything, there's nothing a lawyer can do. And those who were there, who saw these things, they're afraid of coming out, and I understand their point very well. Because as Mr. Shegun said, that if they come out, this government that we have can do and undo. I am aware that some of them they've moved out of Nigeria. Because unless somebody comes out and says that I was there, but if I take the video and go and tender it in court, it's worthless. Because I was not the person that made the video. And there's this principle of law that is only a maker of a document that can tender the document, and the court will put probative value, attach probative value on it. So without any probative value on it, everything is we're just playing around it. To me, we're just watching an Hollywood scene. Really, it's just a scene, just a series you're watching. So the NBA president too is being careful that if people are not coming out, there's nothing really the NBA president can do. And you know, there's a lot also politics. There's the political angle, there's the government angle on it, and the NBA president is also being careful of not stepping on the government part of it. Which is what plays out. So I feel that there are a lot of things that are going on in the mind of the Nigerian Bar Association, but I feel that some lawyers are taking it upon themselves to do what is needful. I think it was just 2 days ago, there was a lawyer that represented some 3 protesters at the Lekki incident before the judicial panel, and then he was pushing some to cross-examine the LCCMD, which is good enough. And then, you know, NBA too is also part of the judicial panel too. Yeah. So we're also part of the judicial panel. So those are the things that we are getting involved in doing. But NBA prosecuting somebody, NBA cannot even prosecute. Let me just go back to that. NBA cannot prosecute. Based on the provisions of the Constitution, it's only the Attorney General of the state or the Attorney General of the Federation that can prosecute. So unless they give a private legal practitioner a fiat from the AGF or the AG of the state, we cannot prosecute. So there's nothing, and the AG of Lagos State will not give you the fiat to prosecute when there is a possibility of the Lagos State government involved on this thing. I'm 100% sure that the AG of the Federation too will not give you a fiat to prosecute. The person that was telling us that it's very likely that the hoodlums in army uniform that open fire. So you know, so you can see that these 2 people who have the right, who have the power to give you fiat to prosecute, will not give you the fiat to prosecute because of their protecting an interest. So the best the NBA is doing is to be involved in these panels and also try to defend the rights of these people.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. So the final question is this. In the light of what has happened in the last couple of weeks, what do you think is the way forward for Nigeria and the Nigerian youths? How do you think we should better approach this fight for a new Nigeria? And what do you think also is the way forward for us as a nation, as Nigerian youths, and all that? Barrister.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that question. You know, I had alluded to this question when I was discussing on the way forward for the NSAS protest. But I will make this answer channeled towards the way forward for the Nigerian youth, leaving the protests aside and looking at the way forward for us as youths in Nigeria. People were saying that getting a political party will do us good. I don't buy that idea, with due respect, and I'll tell you the reason.
Okay.
If you follow the 2020 the US elections,
Yes.
the party that was still controlling and still doing everything is still the Republican and the Democratic. Yes, they have several other parties, but the buck still came from the Republican and the Democratic.
And the Democrats.
The youth that won, I mean, the 3 Nigerians that won, they came from the Democratic. The youth that are winning, they are coming from the Republican, Democratic. Kanye West that came with what's the name of the party, a Bad Day Party or something like that. He didn't win anything. So I think what we youths can do is, funny that going to a political party may not totally be the final answer. I'm not ruling it out. Yes, we can have a political party. But I also feel that if youth go in en masse to any of these big political parties, we can take control. We see the kind of organization and the kind of the leadership, the kind of organization that came with this NSAS. If we channel it into a political party, we will win the primaries in that political party. And once we win the primaries in that political party, we can now channel it towards winning the general election. Because if the truth be told, the youth, see, the not too young to rule, to me, is just a farce. Because if there's a law that says not too young to rule, but the political parties, they are not voting for youths in the political party, how can they win? They're saying not too young to rule. At the primaries, exactly. They're saying not too young to rule. If Banky W came out in Lekki, he lost in Lekki. This same youth that are shouting, oh, Banky W, he lost in Lekki. And interesting part that he lost to another youth in Lekki. That lags it was another youth that won. But have you seen that youth come out to say anything? No. So it's not just about it's not just about the youth, it's not about the age. See, most of us we are seeing, oh, it's age, youth. There are youths in the Lagos State House of Assembly that came out and was saying, with due respect, saying rubbish. I use that word with due respect, rubbish. We saw that in online. The youth, they were saying that, oh, they were not concerned about the looting. They are forgetting about what is the origin of this protest itself. They're more concerned about the end may not be so good, but what caused this protest itself was not the end. But most of these youths that we are calling politicians now, they're saying that they're tilting towards pro-government. They spoke with one youth. I'm trying to use not to put their names there. They spoke to one youth using that of also representative representing Oyo State. I think I've said the name already now. So he was saying that the government was right. The government was right. It was the youth that were wrong. The government was right. So if you vote for a youth and bring that youth there, if the youth does not have the vision about leadership, does not have the vision about good governance, this same youth will go back there and they will be saying something that are wrong. This same youth will go back there and they will go against our interests. Are there not youth in the House of Assembly? Are there not youth in the House of Representatives? Are there not youth in the Senate? Which of them spoke categorically for this thing? Nothing, none of them. Even the people that were speaking, that even the old men, they were like, youth is not a youth. But the youth, they are not speaking. So it's not just about us voting for youth, it's just about us getting youths that are passionate about the future of Nigeria, not passionate about getting money. Because some of them, once they get there, all they are thinking about is the money. Now the part of the clamor is that let us reduce the monies that we pay to the legislatures. How many of these youths that are there will support this move? They will not want to support it because they feel that they are affecting our own money. All that they're interested in is where my children will go to, my children will be taken out of Nigeria. Everything about is selfish interest. So we need youths that are passionate, youths that know how the interest of the Nigerian youth at heart. Youth are ready to speak to us. So even if you create a new democratic party, and this same new democratic party gets into governance, what are they going to say? Are they not going to say the same things? Are they not going to turn against us? Which is the point I think we need to speak with them. Before, it's not just about the youth, it's not just about the age or the size or the color. It's about what does this person have to offer. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. So let's hear you, Mr. Olusegun, for on your thoughts, the way forward, looking at what has happened in the NSAS protest.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much to the barrister too. Well, the way forward to me is very simple. And first and foremost, we need to understand that which it also shows that which to share in the perspective of the barrister to respect to the age vis-a-vis political party. Now, age is not an ideology, rather
Hmm.
a moving identity.
Mhm.
Okay, so if I'm a youth this year, by virtue of my age, tomorrow or next year, I might not be a youth again. You
Exactly.
don't form a party on the basis of a moving identity, rather on an ideology. And so,
Hmm.
for us, even if you set up a youth political party,
Party.
it reflects that whoever set it up is not only expressing his fundamental rights, but it's also expressing his lack of critical understanding of the way forward in nation building. Okay?
Hmm.
And so, if you
Hmm.
form a youth party today, I can assure you that it will end up in the way of Labour Party. Labour Party was formed by Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) as a party for the working class. But today, unfortunately, it has been hijacked by the political elites, and it is not representing any working class in any way. In fact, the Nigerian Labour Congress does not have a say in what happens at the Labour Party. And so, if you form a youth party today, I can assure you that in 2 years, 2 years, even before the election, it would have been hijacked as another platform by the same political disgruntled elements. And so forming a party is not the way to go. So what is the way? For me, the number one thing, having said that one of the gains of this NSAS movement was reawakening of social consciousness. You know, every gain of every society, every nation building whatsoever will start from the abstract form. When we don't have the right values, we can never have the right and a working constitution. But my fear is this: when you form even a youth party, there is no how the youth party can succeed in this current situation that we have. You see, am I live? I am afraid to say, without sounding being pessimistic,
Yes, you're
that the journey of Nigeria, they said at the end of the tunnel, there will always be light. But I can assure you, with what I'm saying, that the tunnel of seeing the light in Nigeria is very far. It is far. If we really want to be serious with ourselves, okay, it is really want to be serious with ourselves. And so, talking about the way forward sometimes can be depressing to me, okay, because
Hmm.
it, see, let me tell you the truth. Using Singapore as a case study, there is no how you will talk about leadership. Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew took up that sacrifice for the country. When a nation does not have a value, when a nation does not have national values, an ideology, principles to determine what is right, what we are going to pursue or not, you cannot expect any meaningful development because the values will be the basis of setting up constitutions. The values will be the basis of developing policies. And that is why some of us are saying that what is happening in US election today is the values that have set up a strong institutions correcting itself in ensuring that a president that will continue the values and the ideas of the country of USA is put in place. And so the question is, what is our values to them? And so if we really want to get anything done, the youth must get involved. That is one. reform, the Electoral Act that has been set aside in the few times to the election, current
Hello, Mr. Gbenga. I think that your network is having a glitch. We are having a hard time. Okay.
probably
Well, okay. I think
that it may not help them. The need to ensure that the
okay,
Electoral
you're back.
Act is passed by the National Assembly is important, so that
Wow.
The network is back.
Oh, okay. Okay. Um. Okay. I think your network is fluctuating, but it's okay. We're already coming to the end of this session. We're already coming to the end of this session. I think that people must have gotten your point. Talking about the Electoral Act, talking about national value systems and
hello,
ideologies
hello.
Hello, yes, yes. Are you back?
Am I back? Okay, am I
Yes,
doing?
I
Is it
think
from
you
me or
are.
from your side?
I think it's from your end. I think it's from
Okay,
your end.
so let me just round it up. So
All right.
the first involvement is that we should demand for with the Electoral Act to be passed, so that we can transmit votes electronically from polling unit
Okay.
to collection center where this electoral practice mostly took place. That is one. Then the second thing also is also to demand for a real electoral reform, that we have the political will, and that will be sincere, because it is economy interest. Sorry that I'm going in the line of economy. Economy, as Marxism let us to know, is the substructure. It is the economy interest. So we must understand, how will they be buying a form 20 million, 30 million for what? To show interest. The monetization of the electoral process is too huge, it's too much. There must be a way that we must find a way of cutting and removing it, because there are some people that really want to serve this nation. There are some people that are passionate about this nation. There are some people that have the competency, that have the passion to lead this nation right. But when it comes to economy, they do not have the means. And so at the end of the day, they have to accept their fate and just restrict to their family to survive and leave the country the way the country is. Because how will you be expecting somebody to put 20 billion to be a governor and you expect the person not to steal? He will steal. How you be expecting somebody that is going for state assembly or state assembly or this or the federal assembly, national assembly to be having 1.5 billion, and you expect that person not to steal money in doing his oversight function as a legislative? They will steal money. See, the truth is, Nigerian is a long journey for us, okay? Because there is no how. There is no how that we want a better country. We want somebody that will put the right values in place without looking at the electoral process first. It must be demonetized. It must be demonetized. In Americans, they spend money more on campaign, more on media. But in Nigeria, they spend money less on media and more on the stomach infrastructure and bribing their way in. And so these are the issues. So until we get that right, we ain't going anywhere. And unfortunately, the more they strangulate people economically. I was telling you something that somebody wants to sue the government to court in respect to the fact that the judicial panel in Lagos lacks the moral and the ethical justification to sit on Lekki massacre, and somebody is saying that fine, you need 150 to do this thing, and the person look at his account and look at his economy needs and say, oh boy, is this the next thing in my life? I said, well, so let me just leave it, let the thing be. That's the situation in Nigeria. So even if you want to say you want to get involved, you need money to get involved. That's the truth. And so that is one. Then another way that they can get involved also, the young people using the social consciousness as now working, is to help to raise the consciousness of the people at the bottom of the pyramid of the nation, the lower class, the hoodlums, the thugs, the traders, okay, the market traders, the fathers, at the market, all those peoples, okay, because most of the times this political class used to deceive them. Okay, they deceive them. Even sometimes, some of them, we don't mind rejecting the money that they bring to them, the sachet of rice, the sachet of powder milk, the pack of needles. They don't mind rejecting it because they've been eating. But when they go to them, they deceive them. And so when they deceive them, they get to the poll and they vote wrong. And so the youth too should get involved. But the truth of the matter is that a youth that wants to bring other youth together to go in and be raising the consciousness of these people. Don't you think it needs economy thing? Don't you think the youth too, we need time to focus on the economic survivor, because the government is strangulating that same youth? It is when your economic survivor has been made to a particular point, okay, that you cannot start thinking about all this kind of a thing. And that brought us to why government is strangulating the people economically with some increment of VAT, not minding job and all those things. They are what you call
All right.
so see, when you come to survivor, when a youth has not met his own economic survivor, you cannot start thinking about the way forward for Nigeria and getting involved. It is perceived that the issues are so multidimensional. So, but any youth that wants to get involved, raise the consciousness of these lesser people, know what is happening in any political party that you join. When you join a political party, whether APC, PDP, ICP, NNPC, PDP, WPC, please go there with the right ideologies. With the right ideologies. And
all right.
So
All right. Thank you so much. Well, I would like to reiterate from where you stopped that's one of the reasons why we are doing the Civic Polls panel discussion. Now, this discussion is supposed to educate and enlighten the average Nigerian youth, and not just Nigerian youth, but the average Nigerian. So you can see that some of the things that have been discussed today on this platform will enlighten people, will open people's eyes to see the things that need to be done, the things they need to know, the right judgments that they need to take when it comes to addressing and analyzing issues. And that's one of the reasons why we have you guys here. I would like to say that you guys have been fantastic. I want to say thank you so much for being part of this panel. And it's been an amazing discussion talking about the NSAS protest in relation to the overall issues around the nation. So I want to say thank you so much. And to everyone who is watching us online, I would like to say that you're not left out of the conversation. You can drop your thoughts, share your thoughts at Civic Polls. Our watchword or our tagline is tell us what you think. Of course, we are out to listen to what you think. We are out to listen to your opinion. It's basically about gathering people's opinion on issues. And in the light of that, you can follow us. You can subscribe on our channel on YouTube. It's Civic Polls TV. And that's where we are streaming this current online panel discussion. You can subscribe to be part of our channel. You can follow us on Facebook. We're also on Facebook at Civic Polls. Find us on Facebook at Civic Polls. Find us on Instagram at Civic Polls. And of course, on Twitter, we are Civic Polls NG. Civic Polls NG. It's been an amazing conversation. I'm so glad to have my panelists in the house discussing. I know that you guys have a last word, so let me just say in just 30 seconds, Barrister, what's your last word for the Nigerian people so far, based on what has been said?
Sorry, before I go to the 30 seconds, I just want to react to what Mr. Shegun said about the Electoral Act and about the monetization of it. If the truth be told, there's a provision of the Electoral Act that pegged the amount of money any person should pay But there is more of what is in the law and what people practice.
What is obtainable
so
in reality?
That's what's obtainable, exactly. So that's most of the, if we follow the Electoral Act as it is, to an extent, there will be good election. But are we, that's my final word, are we ready as Nigerians to uphold the rule of law?
The rule of law.
Are we ready as Nigerians to hold the government accountable for its actions? Are we ready as Nigerians, when we get into government, to do what is responsible for us? Because, as I said, it's not a question of whether we are youth or not. As a Nigerian, what is my interest in Nigeria? As a Nigerian, what do I see in Nigeria? Do I just see Nigeria as a place for me to enter and make money and move out? Or I see Nigeria as a place that my children will be proud of me. I'm proud of what I have done. That's my final word.
All right, thank you. Your final word reminds me of JF Kennedy, one time US president. What he said, do not think of what your country will do for you, but what you can do for your country. And I think that's a mindset that Nigerians need to embrace going forward. Yes, so my activist, my passionate Nigerian activist.
So, 30 seconds. In all sincerity, JF Kennedy was right within the context in which he said that. The context of USA, one people that is taking food off their table. Okay, so for me, the thing is this: keep doing what you are doing for this country as a young person. For those who every day they go to court, challenging the policies, challenging government actions, please keep doing it. And for those who are also on the streets, mobilizing people to see a need for a change, please keep doing it. Keep doing what needs to be done. The truth is, where we are today was because these actions was done by our forefathers. We are done by the previous generation. If we do not do it now, I can tell you that the next generation will suffer greatly than what we are suffering. And so that means that we shouldn't allow such to happen. So let's keep doing what we are doing. Keep raising the consciousness of those in your neighbor. Call some young guys together. Think about Nigeria. Think about actions that needs to happen in your own little way. Mobilize people, raise consciousness. You do not need to spend much. Okay, just call people your neighbors. From there, anything can happen. Just keep doing what you are doing, and at the end of the day, you can only hope that God will also support us, because the thing is deep.
Amen.
I don't like mentioning God in anything or political issues, but with my understanding of where the issue lies in this country, God will help us. So that's just my last
Amen. All right. So I want to say thank you so much, Barrister Ifeoluwa Oje Diron. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, my very good friend and human rights activist, Mr. Olusegun Ifade. I call him Benga. That's the name I have known him to bear. Many years. Many years. I want to say thank you. Thank you guys so much.
I appreciate it.
It's been an amazing time. We hope that when next we call you on a panel, we will have you to discuss more. God bless you guys so much. Thank you. All right, so that's it for today. We draw the curtain here at the Civicpolls Online Panel Discussion. It's been an insightful conversation on the NSAS protest, the lessons learned, the way forward for Nigeria. So much has been said. So much insights have been shared. I know you've learned a lot of things, especially about the Constitution, from the lawyer, our barrister who was here. And I just want to tell you that basically what we do at Civicpolls is to raise political literacy through media advocacy. That's one of our courses, and that's one of the reasons why we are doing this online panel discussion. And of course, primarily Civicpolls is an online opinion poll platform and data analytics platform too. So we will be generating opinion polls on what you think about current issues around the nation, from politics to economy to social issues, religion, entertainment, and the like. So I would want to encourage you to visit our website at www.civicpolls.com and check out for opinion polls that you can be a part of, that you can air your opinion on, and we will be glad as you visit our platform. I want to say thank you very much to everyone who joined us. It's been an amazing time, and happy weekend. Thank you once again, and bye for now.